Time are going. Right, thank you so much for coming, everyone. My name is Glenn Wilkinson, and my talk today is entitled Ransomware 2025, Get Ready or Get Wrecked. Before I kick off, let's have a pop quiz. Make sure we're all paying attention. If you could please raise your hand and leave it in the air if you've heard of the term ransomware before today. All right, good. You're all on the right event. Leave those hands up. Leave your hand up if you could explain public key cryptography to me. Yeah, okay, good, about 50-50. Leave your hand up if you explain to me why elliptic curve cryptography provides efficient verification in Bitcoin. Yeah, 1.5, 2, yeah, okay, excellent, right. I know where to pitch the talk. Thank you so much. You all pass with flying colors. Who am I? My name is Glenn Wilkinson, and I'm an ethical hacker. What does that mean? It means my customers, my clients, they pay me to break into their systems to help them find the weak spots before the bad guys do and come along and do some damage. I also speak at events all over the world, like this one, also all the big hacker conferences, Black Hat, DEF CON, Zero Nights over in Moscow, although not so much these days, and everywhere in between. I also run a few cybersecurity startups, the most interesting of which for today's discussion is called Agar, which is a ransomware killer application, and we'll get into that later. Enough about me, let's talk about you. Imagine this, it's Monday morning, you've just arrived at the office, and got you a nice, sweet cup of Starbucks. You're about to start your busy day at work. And just before you have a chance to do that, lo and behold, you get this horrendous, big, scary red message on your laptop. And it's saying, hey, all your files are gone. They're encrypted. If you ever want to see them again, you're going to have to pay me an awful lot of money in this thing called Bitcoin. And if you don't pay, I'm going to leak all your files on the internet for everyone to go and have a look at. In a panic, you stand up, you look around the office, and you realize it's not just you. Every computer in the office has the same message on the screen saying, pay up or your files are history. It is not some distant dystopian nightmare. It is the reality of working in the modern world. And this is what a ransomware attack looks like, albeit what generative AI thinks it would look like, but you get the gist. I would say something that should keep you up at night to some degree is worrying about that kind of thing. And these are results from a survey of about 2,000 CISOs and other executives. What are the biggest business risks that you perceive in the modern world? And cyber risks stand out, and within that category, data breaches and ransomware are the things that keep CIOs and CISOs and those types of people awake at night, or at least the ones who are paying attention. And the headlines match that. You can't go a day, never mind a week, without seeing a headline about some kind of data breach. And they almost go hand in hand, data breaches and ransomware. So hackers will break in, they'll deploy ransomware. If you don't pay up, they'll leak your data on the internet as an extra point of pain, an extra point of leverage. And here in the UK, data breaches, it's estimated to be what? That's £3.5 million is the estimated cost of a data breach in terms of downtime, reputational damage, customer harm, payouts, all kinds of things. And we're looking at to be a $55 billion in 5 years. By 2031, it's estimated that ransomware damages will hit 260 odd billion. There's enough headlines out there to know that it's hurting, and it's going to hurt more unless we do something about it. And those are high-level stories. I can tell you anecdotes from the trenches. I see this thing every day. I'm brought in to try and help my customers either protect from these types of things happening or recover. But let's make sure we're all on the same page. What is ransomware? So I asked good old GPT to explain ransomware like I'm 5. Okay, imagine someone locks your toy box and says you can't open it unless you give them candy. Ransomware is like that, but for computer files, and the bad guys want money to unlock it. More technically, ransomware is just software. It's just a computer program that runs on your computer. When it runs, it zips up all of your files, puts a password on them, and says, please give me money in the form of cryptocurrency, usually Bitcoin, otherwise you won't get your files back. That's the long and the short. Quite simple at the end of the day. But where did it come from? How did it get to where it is today? And looking ahead, pay attention till the end. What can you do about it? So let's go on a little bit of a history tour. To know where we're going, we need to know where we've come from, as the previous speaker said. So let's go all the way back to 1989. 1989 was the first instance of some form of ransomware. It was called a malware extortion attack back then. And it was spread via floppy disk at a conference. And after a certain number of reboots, computers who had used this floppy disk would get this big red message, dear customer, you need to repair your computer, your files are damaged, please send a check in the mail to PC Cyborg Corporation for $189 US to me, Mr. Joseph Pop. Obviously, the police went to that address, arrested him, he did some time, etc. It was the first instance of that kind of attack, and also someone who's probably somewhat mentally unwell. But the idea is there. Steal your files, pay me to get them back. The encryption was pretty simple. It used what we call symmetric encryption, so you could just crack open the ransomware executable to get the key out to get your files back anyway. If we jump forward to 2006, there's a piece of software called GP Code, and almost looks like modern ransomware. All your files have been encrypted. Please give me money to get them back. This was spread via a phishing email offering a job application. You open it, a macro runs, and it zips up your files and puts on a password. Encryption was much better towards asymmetric encryption, different password to get your files back, so you can't just crack it out. But the request for money was via this bank, or it's not really a bank, but this centralized digital currency service is what it's called Liberty Reserve. Kind of like a shady bank in Costa Rica. Store your money here, just give us your name and email, no passport, no AML or KYC or any of that stuff. And they got shut down pretty fast. So half the problem solved yet. They've got the good encryption to steal your files and the distribution via spear phishing, but they don't have a way to get money anonymously and consistently. The missing piece of the puzzle, of course, came in 2008 when the Bitcoin paper was released. The original Bitcoin paper, 2008, by Satoshi Nakamoto. If you haven't read it, it's like 5 pages. Just go read it. It's absolutely fascinating. Kind of came on the back end of the financial crisis of that period as a way to try and decentralize currency, unfortunately not as an appreciating asset or a way to extort people for their files. In 2013, we saw the first instance of a successful piece of ransomware using this idea of anonymous cryptocurrency, coupled with things like Tor and other anonymous networks and slightly more sophisticated hacking techniques. So CryptoLocker was distributed via a botnet, and it infected systems and demanded payment in cryptocurrency in Bitcoin for the first time ever. So quite a chapter to turn there, and that's probably, of all my slides, the first instance of what you would recognize as modern ransomware. And it did a huge amount of damage back in the day. 2016 and 17, the interesting thing here was the first significant time we saw a supply chain attack. So Petya was a bit of nasty ransomware, did all the usual things. The following year, NotPetya was a variant. And the way NotPetya spread is someone hacked a company called MEDOC. That's kind of like Xero or accounting software made by Ukrainians for Ukrainians. Almost every business in Ukraine runs MEDOC. So some hackers broke into MEDOC and they replaced the nice friendly update that you get on Monday morning with a piece of ransomware instead. So 90% of businesses in Ukraine in 2017 sat down, right, you've got a nice new update from your accounting software, yes please, install, and instead of the update, they got infected with NotPetya. Turned out to not be ransomware, but wiperware. Looks like ransomware, it says give us money, but even if you pay, it just erases your hard disk anyway. That was attributed to the Russians. So it looks like that was an FSB operation. 2016-17, you know what else was going on in the region at that time, and this was quite an interesting early case of state-sponsored ransomware attack. Did massive damage to Ukraine, supply chain attack by compromising MEDOC, and conducted by a nation state. 2017, that's probably when the average person first heard about ransomware. That was WannaCry. So WannaCry absolutely decimated the NHS and other organizations. Absolutely fascinating case of ransomware. It was attributed to the Lazarus Group. It's an excellent book by Jeff White, who might be in the audience, about the Lazarus Group. Definitely recommend you go and buy that. But attributed to the North Koreans, a group called the Lazarus Group, and they managed to leverage an exploit in the Windows SMB subsystem. There was an exploit developed by the NSA, the Americans, called Eternal Blue. It's like, they're making almost bioweapons, but it got leaked by a group called the Shadow Brokers, and then the North Koreans got a hold of that, and they weaponized it and packaged it up into this WannaCry piece of ransomware. It did massive damage. There's hundreds of thousands of machines infected. I think they estimate about $4 billion worth of damage. And luckily it was stopped quite early in its tracks, but that's a whole other story for another time, or go grab Jeff's book. 2020. What's interesting during this period is the advent of double and triple extortion. And you've got groups like Maze and Ryuk. And they really push the envelope on these double and triple extortions. What that means is we've encrypted your files. If you want them back, pay us. If you don't pay us, double extortion, we'll leak your files on the internet for everyone to have a look at, and there's reputational damage and all sorts. Triple extortion, pay us. If you don't, we'll leak your data and we'll leak your customer data. So especially if you're an MSP, a managed service provider, or some business like that, where you have customer data, ongoing customer data, all of their records get leaked on the internet too. So it multiplies the severity of the attack. So double and triple extortion, and lots of groups during that time, Ryuk, Revil, and others, largely attributed to Russian players. Okay, so very quick whistle-stop tour. This could be a 2-hour talk if you gave me some more time, but whistle-stop tour, where are we today? So there is some good news. So Lockbit, one of the most prolific ransomware groups, last year, one of their primary domains was seized, and the NSA, in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies, managed to almost hack back. They hacked into Lockbit and stole their data and released it on the internet, which included decryption keys. So if you had been compromised by Lockbit, you could go get the decryption keys off the internet. And it looked like they dealt quite a good blow to Lockbit, but about a week later, Lockbit was back up. And it's about a year ago now, and now Lockbit is back in full swing, and Lockbit version 4.0, is out, and it's even more terrifying and even more sophisticated than previous versions of the ransomware. What we're also seeing today is the proliferation of ransomware as a service. Everything is as a service these days. Ransomware as a service means that you can go online and you can lease ransomware software and go and deploy it. Absolutely terrifying, as well as go and buy access to compromised systems online. In the UK here, there have been some proposals to increase incident reporting and other metrics. In the UK, it's about to be illegal to pay ransomware groups. If you're a CNI or other operator, it's probably going to head in that direction for private businesses in the not too distant future. Point being, right now, it's not illegal to pay ransom, but in the future it might. But right now, it is illegal to pay a sanctioned nation or individual. So if you get ransomed by a Russian group and you pay up, you could be breaching sanctions. Also, it's illegal to fund terrorist groups. If there are links there, you could get in trouble. We have 2 minutes left to figure out what to do about it. Can't leave you hanging. So, ransomware defense, Glenn's 4-step survival plan. If you haven't been paying attention, now is the time. 4 simple things that I think will make your life a lot better. And they're obvious, perhaps. 1, back it up. Make sure you have backups. The easiest way to recover from a ransomware incident is to just roll the software back out. Have 3 copies. 1 primary, 2 backups, 2 locations, 1 on-site, 1 off-site, air-gapped, and test your backups. The number of times I've gotten an instant response, don't worry, we have backups. Oh, the backups weren't actually backing up. Number 2, train and test. Staff awareness and training. Make sure your staff know what to do about it. There's tons of tools out there. I've got a phishing simulation and training platform of my own, Capenta. It's a fish from Zimbabwe, where I'm from. 3, catch the hackers. The only way I've ever been caught on an engagement is with Think's Canary tokens. There are tokens you scatter around your network, and if hackers are poking around and looking where they shouldn't, you'll get an alert saying, hey, someone's poking where they should not be poking. The average time from compromised to knowing you've been compromised is 197 days. Let's bring that down to minutes, and this tool will help you. Finally, kill ransomware dead. If they manage to get the system, if they manage to try and deploy ransomware, go and install something, some endpoint detection. Our new startup we've just launched is called AgriLabs, and we are the best. Kill ransomware in milliseconds, no AI, no signatures, no fluff. It does what it says on the tin. It just kills ransomware dead. And we have 5 spots left over the next month. If you do want to sign up, we're slowly rolling out. So drop me a line if you are interested. Grab a photo. Those are the top 4 tips. Tag me on LinkedIn so I can show my mom. And in my last 8 seconds, I'll say, go and check out our blog on Agile Labs as well. And a bit of a cookie here, we found with this one simple command, all modern ransomware families fail trying to encrypt your data. Mark your folders as system, and ransomware says, I'll ignore all your files and do nothing about it. And exactly on 15 minutes, I shall stop there, grab a foot of the QR code, let's get in touch. Love to collaborate with you guys. Thank you so much for your time.